All right, Cyber Traders, welcome on back here this Friday. Our cleanup crew, I'll call them. Craig, Leda, William, Michael, Wayne, Bonnie, Norman, who I saw pick up about 41 cents on a trade just now. Great to see everybody inside our live trading room. If you're joining us on social media, as always, welcome on back, Facebook Live and YouTube. But we got a lot to get into here today. Normally, I would call it truly the dog days of summer. If you heard me back in late June, I was saying, typically we kind of reserve the name the dog days of summer for, mid to late August. All right, here we are, mid to late August, right? Or at least mid-August, August 13th. But, nonetheless, I was expecting kind of a flat market today, and that's what we've received, a pretty flat market altogether. The S&P just in a tight range. It tried pushing up just before, but now kind of rounding off, just very flat. But that's not stopping us from trading, a whole litany of different trades that were popping up across the board. Good news, bad news, you name it. So, to start off here, Norman, like I had said just before, picked up one of our students. He had picked up like about 41 cents on this trade, PMCB. You'd said, thankfully for him, he turned like his whole day around. He ended up jumping in as I scroll up here on the chat board if I can. Norman, where do you get in from on this trade? Scrolling up here, I'm missing the post. Oh, there we go. For he got in from 388 as it ended up breaking resistance. He wrote he got 41 cents, which means he ended up roughly getting out right around 430, if I'm not mistaken, doing some quick math. But fantastic trade from Norman, turned his whole day around. But why I'm really even more interested in this trade is not that it's just at the highs here. It's not just that it has a liquid order book, fairly contained spreads for right now. But I said just before in the trading room as I was prepping for the meeting, I just noticed, like, wow, looking at the daily chart, it's a gap fill. It's a true gap fill on the daily chart. I have no idea what happened to this stock. Got crushed. But, this is what we hope for, to see a stock that's down 50, 60, 70 plus %. And, they don't pop up every single time right away. And I can go through a small list here if I can, or if I'd want to, just expedite time, though. It's to say either way, this stock's pushing up really nice. The news that came out on PMCB, as I kind of scroll back, this had to have been from when, like August 10th? Yeah, right here. So why was this stock down to begin with? Oh, it looks like they ended up doing an offering, 3.5 million share offering at $4.25 per share. And, from that point, only dropped off day over day. So this is a nice little squeeze up. Interesting, though. So it's basically above that price, and it's not to say it can't move up higher. We've seen so many different stocks, cheap stocks, more expensive stocks that we've called out recently. When they come out with offerings, that's not necessarily it, where it's just done for. It's flat, and that's it. But right now, how much more can this keep going? And it's trading about 13 million shares total on the day today. Prior to the news coming out and this dropping off, it was only trading, holy smokes, it was only trading about 9,000 shares per day. Alan says, is PMCB an IPO a week ago? And now that was asked from a couple of minutes back here. So that was the news that at least came out on the trade. I don't know if it's like a new IPO before that, or if it was newly listed on the NASDAQ just there. Looks like it has a lot of history on the daily chart. So I don't think that's the case, Alan. Either way, though, I mean, hey, hopefully there's still more to go on this trade. But just given that it's a Friday, the volume's starting to drop off here, looking, minute by minute on my volume bars. So I'd just be a little careful. But for right now, definitely going to start by putting this trade on the list, right? PMCB. All right, I'll tell you what, really quickly, I'm going to skim through a few stocks that I've been looking at and a couple of trades that I'm in actively right now, because there's one that's moving up pretty quick. And I called it out before also inside the live trading room, but the AMC trade. Listen, we've been following a lot of, more inexpensive stocks today, stocks that are more below 10, below 5 even. So really, that's been our focus. And coming off of Fausto's event yesterday with Tom, it couldn't have been better timing. But that's not to say that we're only trading those stocks, right? AMC has been practically a daily play of ours, just over and over. And since coming out with earnings, I think it was from last week, right? AMC earnings from last week, maybe it was, but ended up making this big, or maybe it was early. Oh, no, from Monday of this week on the 9th. They ended up reporting after the bell on Monday. They ended up dropping off after the market opened up. But it's to say, hey, I was looking at this trade from the market open. It wasn't like stock number one for me, but on a smaller position size, I ended up seeing a lot of volume getting filled from yesterday's trading off 32.50. And I was saying to all of us here in the trading room during the audio broadcast at the open that, hey, if it breaks out over 32.50, I'm in. And it ended up running up pretty nicely. I ended up doing well at first, but then it ended up coming back down. I took a couple of losses later on, But now I'm back in this trade. I'm back in from 32.50 exactly. I told us in the trading room earlier, I was like, that's it. I'm done with this stock. Yeah, I that's unfortunately that's a lie. I'm here all day. I say it to us here in the trading room. So it's very hard for me to, not look at this stock if I happen to see it re-break the same resistance I was calling out earlier. It's one thing to like truly be stubborn, but it's another thing to like understand the levels that, that the stock is trading, right? So it's not just a matter of, if here, but it's a matter of when. Ended up breaking back over 32.50 right around like 11 o'clock Eastern. I jumped in on a smaller size, like 200 shares, but I'm still in and I'm looking to get out at 35. I told us here in the trading room that this was looking good right around 33.80 for the slingshot. Here on my other screen, I can't really show my other screen right now. I'm just going to expedite time, but I had a trend line set off these highs. Roughly right there. And once it broke it, that's right where I said, hey, it looks pretty good right now. So if you didn't jump in before, this could be a pretty interesting trade heading into the afternoon. AMC's not up that like 5+% that I asked for at the end of the meeting, but easily enough, I'll put this on our list too. I don't always put a stock that I'm in. I always like to be transparent with that. Just if that was the case, then, not every pick that I would make would be perfect. But, it's to say this one sure looks great. And, I'm still in. And I think that there's a great case to see 35 by the close. All right, so that's one of two that I'm in. The other one that I'm in, we'll definitely get to. I have no problem waiting on that. All of us in the trading room know the stock that I'm in, the other one. So what we'll do is go from top to bottom. There is a stock that is halted. We're waiting for that to reopen. So I feel like I have time on that. Also, a stock that was on our morning watch list, the SESN. So let's see what we got here. Just a whole bunch of GRVN or GRNV stock here. I don't know what the hell this is. Maybe a new special purpose acquisition. Yep. You gotta. At some point, you just realize like certain tickers are either IPOs or SPACs. And, when you happen to see all these different class stocks of the same ticker up on the gainers list or losers list, either way, just your assumption is it's, just a special purpose acquisition. So this thing ended up just coming out today. It seems like getting halted like 4 or 5 times on the way up. Once on the way down, and that was it. That was a wrap after. I guess it made a small bounce, but right now this thing is like kind of died off. Speaking of dying off, or maybe just short pullback here, perhaps higher low building off 4, maybe 390 to 4 could be a support level. But the PMCB trade, yeah, it's still going to keep it on our list, a big focus of ours so far heading into the afternoon. Ooh, this is like perfect timing. I don't know what's going on here. CVV just broke a new high right now. CVD Equipment Corp, up 36+% right now. Just going to check Benzinga Pro really quickly for the news. Oh, whoops. I guess that's it. All right, so this morning it looks like CVD Equipment shares are trading higher after the company announced it received a production system order from a major U.S.-based electronic vehicle battery material manufacturer. It's a hell of a long title, for approximately $1.7 million. That's not even that big of a deal, to be honest. We've seen like companies like Palantir make, news with government, contracts that are much more than that, and they don't really make as big of a move. But, of course, this could be low float or high short interest based. So with that, you're getting a sharper pop here either way. Pretty interesting so far. I'll slip it on the main list to begin with. If we have a really big list by the close and this thing craps out, then I'll scratch it off. It's like basically to say it's on the side list, but we'll see. VVOS, kind of spotty. Pass on this. PPC, it's a buyout. All right, so SESN. This thing has been halted since 2/11 practically. I didn't realize that. I was being lazy and I wasn't looking at Bookmap. And I ended up noting, or one of our students rather, Patrick, noted that this stock was halted right now. So SESN, I don't know what the news is. My guess is common stock offering or direct offering of shares, given how much the stock had popped the last 2 to 3 days here. Oftentimes for these smaller cap stocks that make these big runs, shortly after the runs, we'll see these common or direct stock offerings that get that come out and the stock tanks. So that's my shoot from the hip guess, right? And hey, the stock is shortable, so God forbid if anyone's in right now and that happens, then that's a huge moneymaker. But otherwise though, I'll put this on our list also just to see what the news will be. Hopefully this reopens up in time. All right, so let's see what else we got here. So definitely good list so far, just in terms of interesting trades. AMC, the PMCB, hopefully that could push back up. SESN, I got a couple more, of course, that I'll talk about. BOXL. Unfortunately, this stock, rightfully so, we put this on our list. How could we not? Because if we don't, and this thing pops, and it's a huge missed opportunity. But from experience also, if you're a part of our trading room, if you've been here for, let's say, longer than 6 months, a year, we have a bunch of students that are longtime students of ours that have seen this stock on our list. It's a tease. This stock's been a huge tease in the past to us. So, let me go back on the daily chart. I'll probably just show you a bunch of red candles. Or if they're green, they're going to probably pump back down. But yeah, right here back in July, it looks like it made a nice run up, but then came back down. And before that, even you could see pop and drop, all these bigger spikes that you could see on the daily chart. They've come right back down within the same day, if not even in pre-market. So unfortunately, this stock, it's actually pushing up a little bit here, but ended up dumping off after the market opened up. For right now, I guess I'll kind of come back to it later on, keep it on the side list. I don't really expect a whole lot, but if it ends up popping by the end of the meeting or shortly afterwards, then we'll focus on it perhaps. But see what else we got first. So Bonnie call out the ABCL trade earlier. That made a nice move up. It had tight spreads for the most part. Ended up pushing up all the way up towards the high of practically 19. Came back down, and now it's in a tighter range, but I don't know. I feel like maybe if this stock had pushed back up by the end of the meeting, similar to the BOXL trade, that this can make a nicer run, perhaps. Ended up opening up as an IPO at the end of last year. Looks like right around $70, 65, $70 perhaps. Only ended up tanking shortly after and has dropped down towards sub 20. So, or sub 15 perhaps, going into today. But, hey, nice move. And maybe later on we'll see it pop back up. All right, so see what else we got here. EVOK, a cheapie here, ended up popping, a little bit after the market opened up, right around 10:30 Eastern time. It did, ended up pushing back up, and I was really interested in this trade, and it's really inexpensive. So at this point in the morning, I was up a little bit to where I could risk, I could trade more shares, and I was being patient. I waited for it to make another breakout over 150. I loaded up on 4,000 shares, and it ended up starting to push up a little bit, hit 155, and then it started to shake, and I ended up letting go of the trade right around 151 and fractional position between 51 and 52, but ended up dropping back down. Lesson to be learned, and this goes for everyone here. It's not as if I took a loss. Thankfully, I didn't. If I ended up holding on to the position, I'd be crushed. It's to say that you can't hold on to a trade. Timeout. We got breaking news here. That's my breaking news sounds. Really quick, SESN news came out on it. I don't know if it reopened up just yet, but I just got from Benzinga Pro right now really quickly. I'll bring up the whole page. I'll do that here. All right, so update. SESN Bio says FDA has determined that it cannot approve the BLA for their drug in its present form. No other news below it, but that's it. So it's not common stock offering on the SESN trade, but clearly not good news otherwise. So if you're short, I would imagine that's a pretty good trade for you. It is shortable via TradeStation. Hopefully it is shortable with the broker or platform that you're on. But that's the headline. That's the news that just came out on the SESN trade. I don't know when it's going to reopen up. All right, so we keep it pushing. We keep it going now. So I told you I'd keep you updated on that trade, whether on the reopen or on the news. FLGC, Flora Growth. The stock exploded back in the middle of July. Wow, ends up making a huge push up. What's interesting with this trade is seemingly that over time, the volume has only died off, and this only pushed up higher and higher. So it ended up peaking all the way up towards the high of the day today of, almost 16 plus, at least 1650 perhaps there. And, ended up coming back down. Looks like a little bit of a head and shoulders that built and dropped down to 14. I don't know. I feel like it's just a very volatile stock, more of a level 3 to 4 stock at least, and just thin on the order book. So I don't really feel a need to put this on our list at this point. The FLGC, if it ends up making a big move, you let me know. But we'll see what else we got. There's a lot to look at on the gainer side, not just because the market's up, but we got a lot of stocks that were just up big today. Ended up making these big moves, like RKT. Off of earnings today, we ended up seeing them make a nice pop in the after hours, but then ended up pushing up right away after the market opened up from like 1820 all the way up towards at first 1920 or 1910, 1920. Ended up breaking higher later on. Right now this stock, I feel like it's pretty flat, dropped off a little bit from 1955, 1950 level there. I feel like there's a chance it will come back down to that support level, 18 or 1910. Maybe I'll come back to this at the end. Give it a second look. I'll tell you what, though, for whoever that was on YouTube yesterday, that may have been our friend there, P Trader. He's asking about FSR. I hope that's on the loser side here still. I'll come to that at the end. Holy smokes, that thing dropped off big, shortly after we finished up the meeting yesterday. And I was saying, like, hey, if anything, it looks like it could break lower. I wasn't as interested in the trade, but just out of nowhere, just ended up tanking. So we'll go to that a little bit later on. Bitfarms here, good stock to keep an eye on day to day. Keep it on your side list, perhaps. A stock that moves with Bitcoin seemingly, and ended up making a nice push, I guess, heading into the late morning, early afternoon. But for right now, not a whole lot happening. Another earnings stock, Code Diagnostics, CODX. For any of our new members of joining us on social media, Facebook Live or YouTube today, I'll tell you what. If you're joining us on social media, hopefully, I really hope that it's like bad weather where you reside, because it's the nicest Friday out here in Long Island. And if I wasn't working, I'd be out right now. I'll tell you, and I'll probably leave by 3:30. But nonetheless, for the CODX trade, at least for all of us on YouTube, Facebook Live, if you're joining us right now for the first time or a recent member, this stock CODX ended up making a big move for us back in the beginning of the pandemic last year. One of the vaccine candidate stocks ended up pushing up from like 5 all the way up towards 30 plus over time. So just a stock that we've kept in mind ever since, right? How can we not? And ended up coming out with earnings going into, I think, the market open today, or at least after the bell yesterday. And then now at this point pulling back. So it might be a better short heading into the close than anything else. I'm actually selling myself and putting this on our list. I like it. Nice trend, right within our price range, tight spread. That rhymed. And otherwise liquid order book, I would assume support at 10. All right, cool. So yeah, I don't mind giving this one a shot. COTX here. More as a short, like I'd said, heading into the close, if anything. All right, so I thought Norman ended up calling out the HYZN stock. Ended up making a nice push up earlier. It looks like, yeah, that looked pretty good, earlier. Now at this point, not a whole lot happening. All right, cool. It is Friday, so we'll go to Bitcoin at the very end of this meeting. I don't have like really much going on at 3 o'clock, so we're not really pressed for time right now, so we'll be fine. Otherwise, let's hop over to the losers list here. TLMD, what is this? SOC Telemed. I don't know if this is earnings based or not. I'll take a quick look just at news really fast. And pretty important note for crypto and Bitcoin heading into the end of the week here. I'll talk to you about that just at the end, like I said. So yeah, TLMD ended up dropping off just worse than expected Q2 EPS and sales results. So I got from Benzinga Pro. And really quick, yeah, I wanted to give an update on this. Patrick just posted in the trading room. I just saw that also from Benzinga Pro. Got the update on SESN. They're going to reopen at 3:10 Eastern time. SESN is going to reopen at 3:10 Eastern. All right. Yeah, for right now, though, the TLMD, hell, I don't know what's going on here. This seems to be all-time lows, but otherwise flat. So I guess I'll put it on our list in hopes of this breaking down much lower heading into the end of the afternoon, but it looks a little exhausted. If it ends up breaking lower, fantastic, because there's a stock that I'm trading right now that isn't technically at all-time lows now at this point, but we'll talk about that in just a bit. The Wish trade. All right, so we got HNST next at least. Pretty flat. All right, let's go to Wish. All right, so Wish, this has been my moneymaker for the day. Between this and like AMC, I guess now at this point. But Wish, I've been in and out of so many damn times today. On the way up, on the way down. I've been waiting for the short throughout the early afternoon. You got chipped out a little bit. Some profits taken away on some false or on some erroneous shorts. I ended up getting stopped out for like -4, -5, -4, -5, on a streak. So I ended up waiting, and I ended up knowing what would happen over time. Like I knew what was going to happen, but it ended up topping off right around 786. I'm currently short, average price at 775 right now. I've been getting out of this trade throughout the early afternoon. I've been in on 1,500 shares over and over, and right now I'm only in on 500 left. I'm still in from 775. For right now, I'm watching the 752 exact price level right here. So even if it breaks over 50, I'm watching 752 to see if there's a lot of volume or buying coming in from that price. I think, if I'm not mistaken, on the Wish trade. Let's see here. Yep, 752 was the all-time low back from early June. It popped up over time, maybe from their last earnings, I don't recall, but dropped down. Ended up dropping off today from bad earnings, right? So we ended up seeing that happen actually yesterday after hours, and then going into the open. So long as it was shortable for me, I knew that this would be a fantastic opportunity, because if it's not going to continue to push up higher and higher, I was hoping for this to go up to 8. So I didn't really have a chance to see that happen, and I stopped going long at least by 10:30 or 10:45 Eastern time. So I did miss out a little bit more here, and that's where I try to go short initially, but I'm still in now from 775 on 500 shares, and I'll put this back on our list. The only issue that I have with this trade, even though I'm still in it, is that it's trading 203 million shares total across the day. It might just be like a flat trade for us here otherwise if you're not in it. So I'll put this on our list, but the worst thing that happens is that this thing is otherwise pretty slow. Even if this drops back down, I don't expect for it to be like too fast, which for me would be, kind of unfortunate, but that's fine. At least if you're looking to try and go in short, this could be an interesting area right around 750, 752 area. And then otherwise, if it ends up popping from there, I might just get out and just take the profits. So we'll see what happens here. All right, so we keep it going. I guess market dipped off a little bit from 2 o'clock Eastern time, right? Slight little drop. Current time 2:52. We'll go to Bitcoin, probably run over 3 p.m. Eastern time, and then we'll finish up a little bit late. Jinko Solar, JKS dropping off quite a bit. Wow. I don't think this is earnings based, which is pretty interesting, because I thought they ended up reporting kind of recently. I could be wrong on that. I'm going to double check right now. I'll tell you, I got no news on this trade. Last news report on this stock was from August 9th on Monday. JKS receives a life cycle assessment certificate in the Greater China region. That's all I got. I don't know if they're a Chinese-based company and China markets are dropping that. I don't know. I have no idea. Either way, I mean, this I've always kind of listed more as a swing trade than anything else, and I get that from Fausto. He's done really well in this stock as a swing. But for the meantime, hey, this is a really nice short. The only gripe on this is that the order book's too thin. But for right now, I'll kind of put this on kind of near the bottom. I might take that CVV off our list, like I'd said. All right, see what else we got here. So SoFi down here, coming off earnings. I recall that from the market open. Where are you? There we go. Oh, it's pushing back up now to 15, but right when it first loaded, I saw a trade station, the matrix here, and I knew that it was like right near the lows. I didn't know if it was trending down to the lows or bouncing off from the lows, and you can see it's bouncing back up. It's like kind of an ugly chart, mind you, but I don't know. It might just be more algo driven than anything at this point, heading into the end of the week, end of the day here. If it ends up dropping back down, then we'll call it out on the side. But for right now, we'll pass on this, because this looks a little bit better. The GRWG trade ended up dropping off after the open here. I think this was earnings back from yesterday, and then only dropped off more here this morning. So at the lows, I don't know if this is like just broken below support or support at 3150, presumptive support at least. But yeah, for right now, I'll put a spotlight on this one here also, the GRWG trade. My AMC trade's dropping off. I might just jump ship on that. Finally take my profits. All right, so folks, let me know if there's anything else up, down, left, right, more than 5% that you would want me to check out. And as you do that, I'm actually going to check out Bitcoin first, then we'll round them all up here at the end. All right. All right, so for all my crypto people, let's see Bitcoin really fast. Got my trend lines up this time finally. No, didn't get lost. But for right now, at least, I mean, hey, this thing is only held and pushing back up right now over the last, 18 to 24 hours here, given that this is a 6-hour chart. I told you this back from Wednesday of this week. I didn't have this line set up in time, so pardon that. But nonetheless, heading into the end of the week here, I was saying, we ended up seeing a crossover between the 100 and the 500 EMAs on my 6-hour, or at least it was approaching it at the time, and now they've crossed. I ended up tweeting this from yesterday, and for all of us on social media, feel more than free to follow me personally on my CTU Twitter account, CTU Josh. But nonetheless, I'd said, even though we have 100 to 500 cross, similar to my post that I had on Cardano, and I'll show that in a moment, I think that we pull back first. And I ended up showing at least a couple of lines from my weekly graph. So that's really what I want to show. So I ended up taking this back from last night. At this point, it's obviously pushed back up, but if it continues to go up, I wouldn't be shocked if it ends up even testing that 49 sooner than later. That was a support level given from the weekly chart. I ended up plotting some lines on the weekly here that you could see based on the closes more than anything. But 49 would be a really strong resistance. Obviously 50 you would assume, but I think 49 there's going to be a little pull there, and if it keeps going, perhaps we'll see a pop and drop and then the eventual dip back down. But I would think this area would be a really nice support. I know it already held off the 500 EMA here for the most part, dipped under and back over it, almost like a move that we talk about inside the live trading room here, under and over, right? But nonetheless, though, I just wanted to show that really briefly. Now, with Cardano, actually, let me go back to my Twitter page first because I'll show you something else. So I get that from my Cardano post, and with my Cardano post, I showed a similar crossover initially, the 100 to 500 crossing over right here. Well, since that time, Cardano's only pushed up and up and up and up and up. So I'll be happy to be wrong that, hey, Bitcoin does not pull back. If it doesn't pull back from that point, God bless. That's the best time ever to be wrong. But from where I said that about Cardano, that was when it was at 142. Well, I checked in with it 44 hours later, is at 182. A check-in this morning was at 208. It's insane. So, do as you will with this information. But otherwise, another thing I wanted to show really quickly before we finish up the crypto part of this, at least, is, this website goes over long and short interest. So I love looking at this, and I'll post on my Twitter feed also. But nonetheless, not as much activity going on with Bitcoin over the last week, the last 7 days here. You can see the long interest and short interest in red and green, respectively, are kind of flat, if anything, a little dip. But Cardano, there's a whole lot of business going on here, at least over the last 7 days, over the last 48 hours, perhaps. I don't know. It looks like some whale stepped in and ended up loading up on Cardano big time. So we'll see what comes of this move. Maybe it'll kind of just liquidate and dump back down after the weekend. We'll see. It's always interesting, too, going into the weekends. I've noted this, too, like a week ago. But every time we finish up this meeting going into a weekend, we've always seen a big move on Bitcoin, up or down, good or bad, either way. So that part will be really fun to watch. All right, from Mitch Connor, once again, welcome back, Mitch. He's asking about the VVOS stock on YouTube. So again, another round, folks. Let me know if there's anything else that I missed, up, down, left, right, more than 5%. But VVOS, nice pop, yeah, up 30+% now. If I didn't call it out earlier or even look at it, it was probably because it was trading like really low volume, and since it was only trading a hell of a lot more. So yeah, VVOS, hopefully it doesn't just dump back down now at this point. Hopefully this isn't just the extent of the run here, but this could be pretty interesting. Good call. CVV testing 6 says later. All right, so maybe I don't kick that one off just yet. It popped up pretty nicely since I ended up going over it, popped over the 570, 580 mark, ended up running up. All right, I'll tell you, I don't think we have a need to look at any of the other stocks on the side list, proverbial side list. I think that we're pretty much good otherwise because we have a pretty big list for a Friday. So, hey, we'll kind of work together as a team, see if there's anything else otherwise. But I would start with this list and stick with this list to begin. This would give you a really good opportunity to try and capitalize on just, what we have here, the CVV, the AMC trade. I'm still bullish on if that, could hold here and push back over 34. The Wish trade, perhaps, if that could, shake back down a little bit more, and plenty of others too. All right. All right. So for all of us in social media, Facebook Live and YouTube, first and foremost, enjoy the weekend. Appreciate you sticking with me each and every afternoon. So I always got to start by saying that, at least heading into the weekends here. But otherwise, feel free then to follow me, at least personally, on Twitter at CTJosh. But if you've yet to join us live inside our trading room, make sure to go right down to the link on the banner below just to sign up for a small trial, week-long trial inside our live trading room. I know Fausto and Tom Busby ended up just finishing up a huge event just from yesterday. We have a bunch of new members joining us across the next few days. And actually coming up for class, going into Monday of next week, we have the Phase 1 stock course continuing once again. We'll be talking all about scanning the stock market, time and sales. We'll talk about level 3 again and much more. So I look forward to that. All right. For all of us inside the trading room right now, I'll be back on the mic pretty shortly. Just give me a quick second. Rich will be on for in just a bit here too.